Good morning. Happy Friday. Blind Justice has graced me with a couple comments. He wants to point out the errors and inaccuracies that I made in my video. And I welcome critiques. I never shut down anybody for telling me where I got something wrong. And sometimes, if you're right, I'll mea culpa. He says it was a county health department, not a WIC office. WIC is a program that the county health department offers. But if I may direct you to this map, there is Guilford County Health Department, High Point. You can see over here in Greensboro, there's a couple, but down here in High Point, you can see it's the Guilford County WIC program. Okay? The administrator never told me to leave either. That is technically correct. She told you to stop recording, and then she stood there next to her two security guards while they told you to leave. So you're trying to slice the hair too thin. She was there. She agreed with what they were doing. She could have stopped them. She told you to leave she told you to leave through the security guards. I don't know that I said specifically that she told you to leave, but if I did, that's the intention. That as the acting head, she was standing right there, and she was definitely on board with them arresting you or trespassing you or otherwise getting you to stop recording. She gave an if-then statement that was clearly discriminating against me because of the use of my assistive devices to help mitigate disabilities. She said, stop recording or leave. And that is not discriminating against you because of your assistive devices to help mitigate disabilities. So the way this works, the way reasonable accommodations work, is you say, I have this disability. I can't do X. Like, I can't read the pamphlet that you have. A reasonable accommodation would be to have it printed in a larger font, have someone else read it to you, have a Braille version available, have it available as a download online so that you can listen to it at your leisure on a phone, in auditory format. These are all potentially reasonable accommodations because you can't read the thing, right? I want to participate in this particular public service. I want to read this particular public document. A reasonable accommodation would be one of those things. I want to film in public when so you say I'm blind, right? I want to film video, whatever. Oh, we don't use film anymore. I want to do the act of capturing moving images on a device. Well, how does that assist you then and there? You say, well, later on, it helps as a memory aid. Well, you know what? Taking notes helps as a memory aid as well. Oh, well, a lot of communication is done non-verbally. Well, yeah, but you're not watching the video while you're communicating. A lot of communication is nonverbal, and if given the opportunity to study a video for an hour, everybody would have a better understanding of what the person's body language was actually saying. The issue is that's not something related to your disability. That's something that everybody has. Nobody has perfect memory. Nobody has the ability to see everything at once. Wherever you're looking right now, wherever your eyes are focused right now, you're not really paying attention to anything in the peripheral vision. Maybe if there's motion over on it outside of wherever you're looking, you'll see it. But even exactly where you're looking, you're not seeing all the detail. Your eyes aren't perfect. Your eyes aren't perfect. Your brain isn't perfect. Nobody's is. That's not a disability. A disability is saying that I'm different than the average person because I have this thing and I need a reasonable accommodation to do it. So you ask for the reasonable accommodation, but that doesn't mean they give you exactly what you've asked for. For example, if you want to get a job as a cashier at a local convenience store, and They say, okay, it's $8 an hour. You stand behind the cash register and you ring people up and you say, well, you know what? I can't stand for 8 hours a day. I want to have a chair. And then the manager says, well, no, I don't want to have a chair back there. It's a trip hazard. Other people have to get back in there, move around. Instead of that, how about we put down that thick rubber mat that you could stand on? Would that be a reasonable accommodation for your inability to stand? No, that wouldn't. I still won't be able to stand. It's not based on how soft the surface is. My legs, I have an issue with my legs. I just can't stand for 8 hours a day. Okay, how about this reasonable accommodation? We'll work you for a 4-hour shift. We'll get you down to part-time. That might be a reasonable accommodation. The way it works, though, is the person says, I can't do this. This is what I can't do that everybody else can do. And then they tell that to the ADA coordinator of whatever building they're in, of whatever public service they're requesting or government service they're requesting. And then whatever that ADA coordinator comes back with, they might say, okay, you can do this, or they might say, you can't do this, but you can do that. Or they may say, well, there's no reasonable accommodation that we can make for you for this particular thing. And then your only choice at that point is to file a grievance and then start to pursue it through legal channels. Eventually it's going to get to some determiner of fact who's going to say this is or is not a reasonable accommodation, or what that determiner of fact would believe is a reasonable accommodation. I mean, they don't have to say you get your thing or the government building gets their thing. They may say this third thing actually would work, and they may have a better reason for it. But you don't get to say this is my assistive device. You have no choice but to accept it. You say this is my disability, and you have to accommodate it, is a better approach. And then they'll say, well, here's a reasonable accommodation that works for us as well as for you. That's the way reasonable accommodations work. It's not you putting your foot down and saying that it's my way or the highway. He says a few more things you got wrong with this one friend. Doherty wasn't law enforcement, and he may or may not have been. I think this fine fella here behind him probably was. Yes, he is wearing a North State Security. Yeah, he is wearing a North State Security shirt, but he has all the accoutrement of law enforcement, and he is down for making arrests. And if you notice that North State does have sworn police officers, and yeah, they're all up to snuff. They do offer other security guards as well, and I am reasonably sure that that this fella here is just a security guard. See, no firearm, very snappy dresser, and look at those keys of authority. Whew! He's got some keys of authority. But I don't think this guy is a police officer. I do, however, think that the other gentleman is. And Captain Doherty might be. Great camera work there. I think this guy is, and Captain Doherty might be. But anyway, doesn't really matter. Citizens arrest are things that they can do. No one identified themselves as law enforcement. Well, congratulations. Nor told me to leave. Wow, no one told you to leave, buddy. That's a tall stretch right there. Let's start right here. I'm looking forward to any copyright strikes you want to throw my way.
So I need you to turn the device off and stop recording, okay, or you're going to have to leave.
Turn the device off and stop recording, or you're going to have to leave. You might not think that that's enough. Well, let's keep going. That's one.
If you don't turn your recording device off...
Is there an ADA coordinator, Ms. Leslie?
You need to leave.
That's two.
ADA coordinator not in this building, but you have been told to turn it off.
Okay, you need to leave.
You need to leave. That's three.
If you are not going to stop recording, you need to leave the building.
You need to leave the building.
Okay.
Okay, I've asked you plenty.
Well, there's a crime committed, and I need to
Okay.
identify the person that violated that,
If
that
you
committed that crime.
don't, if you don't leave the building,
You're going to be arrested.
You're gonna be
for
arrested.
trespassing
That's 5. If you don't leave the building, you're going to be arrested for trespassing.
right now.
okay?
So,
For
are you going to leave?
for second degree
Yes, not
trespass?
Is that second-degree trespassing?
asking you to leave, and you're not leaving the county building.
So that,
And he just said there, I'm asking you to leave and you're not leaving a county building. So he's been asked plenty of times. Plenty of times he's been told if he doesn't leave, he's going to be arrested.
on second degree trespass,
Okay.
if you're on the property.
Are you going to
of ano-
leave?
Are you going to leave?
I'm trying to clarify what's going on. So second degree trespass is if you're on the property of another and you're without permission, or you are asked to leave or told to leave and you refuse. Is that right? Is my understanding of that right?
Whatever it is you want to be.
Well, I just want to understand what you're threatening. Like if
I'm
you're
not threatening you.
Nobody's
Are you going to
threatening
leave, sir?
Well, I'm trying to clarify.
Are you going to leave? Yes or no?
Absolutely. Yes, I will absolutely leave.
Let's go.
I'm just
Okay.
trying to clarify
Because now I'm about
what's
to put
going
cuffs
on.
on you if you don't.
I'm going to put cuffs on you if you don't.
Wait a minute. So
I'm going to count that as a telling him to leave. I'm going to put cuffs on you if you don't leave. I'm going to count that as leave. So that'd be like 7.
you are going to use violence against me. I'm trying to clarify.
He's even acknowledging, number one, he knows the degree of trespassing it's going to be. He has cited almost verbatim the elements of that second degree trespassing. So he knows he's trespassing. He knows what he has to do to not be trespassing, and now he's just playing a game. So anyway, I've made my point. He was told to leave. Nor did they say I was under arrest before they jumped me. They told you if you didn't leave, they were going to arrest you. I mean, how many more notices do you want to get? And I just want to point out that it's 16 minutes and 13 seconds into the video right now. They still haven't arrested him, but I think they're about to. Right about somewhere between 1621 and 1635 is where he actually gets arrested. The point is they notified him well ahead of time. They were very patient with him. And, even this video here starts off already with an interaction. Right here, Mike is having an interaction with this guy right here who may or may not have told him to leave. I didn't watch any of Mike's video of the interactions with this fella because he's just a security guard and I don't really care. But he may have told him to leave. And in addition, if you look at the Audits video, there may be another Blind Justice video floating around with these gals in here telling him to leave. So they were very patient. It was a county health department, yes, and I was following up on finding any mental health services offered. County health department is not the place you go to for mental health services. You go to services, you go to mental health. They use Sandhill Center. You can click here for the Sandhill Center website. You're in the wrong place at the wrong time. Maybe instead of going to the wrong place, I mean, you have access to the internet. You have phones. You have access to the internet. You found the High Point Clinic. You went there. I'm assuming you did that through online research. You could have, if you were actually serious about looking for health services, you could have just. I mean, you saw how long that took. Instead of going to the public health portion of Guilford County's website, you go to the services tab and you go to mental health. I mean, there's veteran services. It was right above veteran services. You should have been able to find it. As the VA mental health services are severely lacking. Okay, I mean, well, that's too bad. That really is too bad. But I don't know why going to a WIC clinic is going to make the Veterans Health Services better. The VA group shut down their PTSD sessions along with others shortly following this shutdown nonsense. Well, he did his video back in February, and I don't know what they did back in February. I don't believe they did any government shutdowns until April. I think it was April that federal things started to shut down. And right now they are open for limited hours and services, but they also have hotlines you can call if you need PTSD counseling. So they still offer services. So I know you're really trying to lay down the You may think it's not helpful for the community for veterans to know what alternatives are available, but with 22 veteran suicides a day pre-virus shutdown, I thought it was good info to make available to the public. You didn't learn anything in this video that you quote unquote made available to the public. You didn't learn anything in this video. This is bullshit. You didn't learn anything in this video. And I have provided more information. This right here is a phone number you can call for the hotline. Here's the address. Here's their main number. Here's their hours of operations. That's for the Greensboro Vet Center, for the VA. If you have an issue, you go to the sandhillscenter.org website. For immediate help, there's their number right there. I mean, I have provided more help than you did. So don't bullshit a bullshitter. A man grabbed my, no, he grabbed your camera and wouldn't ID. He doesn't have to ID because, well, he's not a cop, remember? He does, there's no law that says cops have to ID themselves. That's some, I mean, there are a few states that say, you know, cops do have to ID, but there's no punishment if they don't. So it's not really a law. Staff wouldn't help me ID the man, and then started to tell me not to use my vision aids, and that if I wouldn't turn off my vision aids, then they would ask me to leave. They're not vision. Your camera isn't a vision aid. It's just not. It's not. It's not a vision aid. There's no reasonable, there is, if, for example, you were wearing some sort of a headset that magnified the vision and you use the camera to display to that headset, maybe you could make an argument, but no. He says, a camera takes pictures, some moving, and it records to some storage device. Thanks for the lesson there, Technical Timmy. I have damage to both my organic picture takers and storage device. He's got brain damage and he's got damage to his eyes. Congratulations. Thank you for talking to me like I'm a toddler. It can identify the assailants, like in this case. Take notes of conversations. 70 to 90% of communication is nonverbal. Document routes, which are safer and more easily traversable. Here's the problem, though, there, Mikey. You could also take notes of conversations with a pencil and paper. If you could see video, you could see a pencil and paper. It could identify the assailants, like in this case, yeah, but that's not something that's subject to your disability. You can see, buddy, and he's not under any obligation to identify himself to you. So you can identify assailants. I mean, yeah, I'm sure everybody would love to, you know, that's why people have cameras in their cars. It identifies vehicles that might hit their cars. People would love to have surveillance footage around them 24/7 just in case they get assaulted. But that's, you don't get special treatment on that one. Document routes, which are safer and more easily traversable. The problem with this one is that you've already taken the route. You've already traversed it. You can't see where you're walking, but you can see it enough to film it, and then you're going to watch the film later to see where you walked and find a different route? That doesn't make any sense. None of this makes any sense. Take notes of conversations. We already talked about that one. 70 to 90% of communication is nonverbal. The problem is, again, that when you go back to watch your video later, you're no longer having the conversation. The conversation's done. The point of using assistive tech is to be independent and not need to rely on another person to do everything for you. Yeah, but you're not using that camera to get you around these places. You're using the camera later, afterwards. That's a difference. You don't need it while you're there. You want it for reviewing when you're done. You want it for putting up on the internet to make money off of. Don't bullshit a bullshitter. The ADA is clear on that. It even says an entity can't force the qualified person with a disability to use a third-party man. But the ADA also says that the government service provider only has to make a reasonable accommodation. And there are various other things that they don't have to do, like for safety purposes. Well, for example, if there is a direct threat, does not require a public entity to permit an individual to participate in or benefit from the services, programs, or activities of that public entity when that individual poses a direct threat to the health or safety of others. So, I mean, there are exceptions to these things. Personal devices and services. The part does not require a public entity to provide to individuals, obviously you have your own, with disabilities, personal devices, etc. But again, if the ADA was as clear about your, and I'm being generous here, vision aids, Jesus Christ. If the ADA was clear on it, you wouldn't be fighting all these battles and losing. As for brain injuries and bleeds, it is serious, and they monitor for different signs of how serious. I assume it's serious. I thought it was serious. They said it was a small bleed of around 5 millimeters. That sounds serious. That's a half a centimeter. That's roughly 1/5 of an inch. That seems serious. I mean, again, I'm not a doctor, but it seems serious. They saw my cognition and function improve over the 10 to 12 hours. Over the 10 to 12 hours. Now it's 10 to 12 hours? They monitored me for several hours, and now it's 10 to 12 hours. Well, that's interesting. That's interesting. And gave instructions to my partner, I thought she was your wife, to monitor and bring me in if any worsening of symptoms. She wheeled me out in a wheelchair. Yeah, they wheel everybody out in a wheelchair. That's just what they do. Everybody goes out in a wheelchair. That's just in case. That's just in case, just so you don't fall when you're there. They get you into the car. That is just to prevent them from having any lawsuits. Okay, as for pain relief, blah, blah, blah. I've had a no NSAID order, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug, I'm guessing? I don't know. From neurologists for years due to them thinning the blood. Yeah, okay. But there are several other analgesic options available, and some that even don't have the side effect of altering mental status. Okay. But, you know, here's the thing. Here's the thing. I'm not sure that second guessing the advice of mental health professionals when they're saying we don't want to give you pain medications. Maybe they have a reason. And then he says, so if what I'm saying is the facts, what are you going to give your audit video? Well, if everything you said was true, then I would give my audit video a D. Unfortunately, everything you said is not true. So, well, not everything you said is a lie, but not everything you said is true as well. So there you go. Anyway, I hope that helps. Thanks for watching, and thanks for commenting. Have a great day.